All right, I'm here with my buddy Marley. You want to come up here and jump up? This is the one time in the session I'd like you to jump up, but of course she's not going to. This is Marley's roadmap to success. Marley just moved here recently. She's from the East Coast, and so she's getting used to it. You can't see it, but there's a beautiful view of the Pacific Ocean right here. But this means she's in our apartment, so she doesn't have as much access to the outside, and I think that has resulted in some issues. She is a very athletic dog, as a lot of pitties are. And so she needs probably a lot more exercise. So one of the first things we talked about was exercise. And so we went over, and I have videos for all the stuff I'm going to talk about. I'm not going to go about it in detail. I'm just going to talk about the concept. If you want a video explaining the whole thing, just text me. I'm happy to share it with you. So we talked about getting her a doggy backpack. The Guardian already has one. I'd like her to start playing around with different amounts of weights. Also check with your vet to make sure that there's no mobility issues. For all of these activities that we're making sure that we want to do no harm. We want to make these to help her not to be a distraction or cause problems. So if she's carrying weights, that's going to make the walk more efficient. We also want to let the dog sniff as much as possible. A lot of people don't realize sniffing drains a lot of energy for dogs. It also helps them with their confidence and their self-esteem and things along those lines. We're in a pretty busy part of Santa Monica, so I recommend the Guardian goes on the other side of Montana. The neighborhoods there are nice and grassy. There's a lot of great sniffs. There's a lot more open space, so you're going to see if somebody's coming towards you. The best thing you can do if she's reacting is to increase the distance. She barks at things to get them to go away. The more that you manage that, the less she has to manage it, the more confidence she'll have in you, the less of a need that she'll feel to bark at things. So keep your head on a swivel. If somebody approaches you with the dog and they want to meet her or something like that and not listening, or a little secret I found is like, oh, my dog has worms. People will just turn around and walk away. Excuse me, ringworm, because it's contagious for people as well. And so you don't want to do that too much. Just, she's a rescue, not super friendly. If they don't, some people are just oblivious and they keep them turning towards you. But your job is, if you have to, step in between so she sees that you're handling that situation. So we also can play fetch. We went over fetch. Remember to hold that treat out and practice at times where, when she brings you the ball, she's saying, I'm in the mood to fetch. Try to stop what we're doing, pause the TV, and play a little bit of fetch. So make sure what I did is I asked her to sit. As soon as she sat, I said fetch as I threw the ball. When she picked it up, I had the treat out. When she came back over, I gave her some of the Stewart's free-dried beef. Later, I just held it out. She dropped the ball. As soon as she dropped it, I said yes. Then I put the treat in her mouth. Then I picked it up and asked her for a sit and repeated that. When you're practicing this, make sure you count the number of fetches. The maximum, we want to find out where a maximum number of fetches is. You don't have a huge apartment, so it'll probably be a pretty high number, but that's a nice, easy way. And remember, when she's nudging you, she's chewing things, she's belligerent or whatever it is, she's probably, ask yourself, I want you to keep that in the back of your mind. How long has it been since she's had exercise? If it's longer than an hour, I'd like you to play cookie in the corner, or play fetch, or take her for a walk, or play tug of war. Those are all great ways to burn energy. We can also do scent games. We introduced cookie in the corner. Again, I have a video for that if you want to do that. Make sure you also say the come. So after she gets the 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 treats, she's always coming. You're saying come and coming back to you, getting that reward. And eventually, you can just say hunt and point in the direction that the treats are hidden. Don't do it in areas that you don't want her looking for it, like in the kitchen, because she might start counter-shooting and stuff like that. Let me see, we can also do training. Training is a great way to burn energy. It also helps the dog practice behaviors that we want, and it also engages with the human and helps the dog practice listening to the human. Make sure on practice the maximum length of time is 3 minutes unless the exercise requires it to go beyond that, but I try to avoid that, especially at first. And make sure the last repetition is a good, successful one. You don't want to get frustrated or have your dog frustrated because they won't want to do it again. And I'd like to see each of the Guardians maybe twice a day doing a little 2 or 3 minutes. So you're talking about 5 minutes each of exercise per day. When the dog starts seeing you acting like a leader and practicing listening to you, practicing being rewarded listening to you, that'll help when you're on walks and in other places as well. Let me see, we can also feed her. I'd like to get a snuffle mat. The one that I like has like a ribbon or a band around it, and all the tassels are kind of up in the middle of it, so it works a little bit better. Feed her meals out of that. That's like sneaking in an extra walk. Get a Omega Paw Tricky Trainer treat ball, and then you can fill that up with kibble. When you have guests come over, she nudges it around. She doesn't have enough toys. Chewing is a great way to deplete some energy. So I'd like you to get an assortment of bones, some edibles like bully sticks, kneecaps, tracheas, tendons, things like that. Called cow kneecaps and cow ears, but kneecaps are one of my dog's favorite because that's good for multiple. They'll chew it, eventually you get a little bone that big, but it'll be about 5 or 6 different chewing episodes. Let me see, what else can we do? The doggy stairmaster you can also do. Remember, that should be one of the last ones that you do. That would be the one with retractable leash, but again, since it's a repetitive activity, we want to be careful about that one. And then if you can, skateboard is a problem for her, so if you get rollerblades, you could actually have her pull you on the beach, and she's strong. So you have the beach just so close to you guys. That would be a wonderful way to deplete some energy in a very quick period of time, and I love it. It's one of my favorite things to do. People are always waving at me. Dog ski. Okay, so you want to alternate that ideally every 2 to 4 hours, but sometimes you need to be a little bit more and more often. She probably needs it a little bit more often. Also, on the walks, make sure you let her sniff. And also remember, you can set her up for success. So if you have a Zoom meeting, then she should go out for a nice long 25, 30-minute sniff walk, then come back and let her have, always after exercise, she needs 10 minutes to recover before the next thing happens. So oscillate that, play different amounts of repetitions of these different forms of exercise for different activities, and kind of come up with something that you can set her up for success. We also talked about marker words. The guardian had used marker words. I'd like her to be using a clicker and a marker word. The clicker is to use you can use either one at any point, but the clicker is to be more distinct. And so if an environment that's more likely to be distracting, try to gravitate towards using the clicker. By the time you've seen this, hopefully you're done, but I want you to walk around. So each one of you guys, you have to remember this one for now because you won't see this for a day or two. But after I leave today, give her 20 minutes of rest or an hour or so, and then grab about 12 treats, walk around her house, and either click and give her the treat or say yes and give her the treat. Do it all over the house so she practices. You want to do it to the point where you click or say yes and she just stops what she's doing and looks up at you. Then at that point, you can just use the marker word as an indicator to let her know that she did the things you wanted. We want our hand targeting, so remember to practice that one. And the progression is turn, lean, step, and then multiple steps. Again, I have a video for that one if you forget how to do it. But that's a great one because it gets her to engage with you, and she's coming to you and being rewarded for doing so. And then you could actually use that as an alternative form of exercise. One of you sitting over here where the dog bed is, and one of you sit in the bedroom, and you call her, target, she runs over, touches your nose, gets treat, runs the next room, runs into the, and if you have a guest, have somebody in the guest room. Incorporate your guests. Don't just have a regular guest come over, because then you're worried, I'm sorry, sweetheart, then you're worried about being a good host. So have some friends that you meet from work or people you meet on the beach or whatever it is that are trustworthy, and have them come over and practice that instead of actually being a guest. Have them come over with a mindset of helping her. And that's a great way to burn some energy because she's running from room to room and she's practicing listening to you and good things happening for listening to you. Let's see, we also went over petting with a purpose and passive training. Petting with a purpose is essentially if she wants you to give her attention. Now remember the fundamental underlying thing. If she comes up and she's nudging me, ask myself, has it been over an hour since she's been exercised? If that's the case, get her the exercise first. Then if you come back and she has 10 minutes recovery and she still does that, then you would, when she nudges you, you give her that do-over because we're teaching her to sit or lay down to ask for attention. So she comes up and nudges me, I say sit. If she sits within 2 seconds, I say yes, then I pet her. If she doesn't, I just lean back, I continue writing my song, play guitar, paint, make a souffle, call your friends, do whatever you want. There's no punishment, but she's not getting the attention from you. You're playing a little hard to get. After a while, she'll start sitting in front of you to prepay for the attention. When she does, make sure you do mark and reward that, even when you didn't ask for it. Otherwise, she's going to do other things. Use the watchword of manners or paycheck, whatever the watchword is. I say manners. So if somebody comes up, if somebody says manners to me, they come and they see that I'm petting Marley, and she's standing. They might say, I think David forgot to ask her to sit first. Now, can we pet our dogs for no reason? Sure. But I think that's been going on so much now that the guardians have accidentally trained her to do the wrong things, to get attention because any attention is validated. So for the next 3 months, I'd like you, let me see, where are we at? We're in September, so October, November, December. Through the rest of 2021, I'd like you to exclusively pet her for a purpose. After that point, you've gotten a habit of it, and she's gotten a habit of it, she should start sitting down and prepay for the attention, make sure she pets her. You pet her when she does that. So remember, someone says manners to you, that means you stop petting even if you did it right. So if I'm petting her and somebody comes up and says manners, I would say, oh, sit. Yes. Actually, I asked her to sit and you missed it when you were in the other room, but thanks, I did forget to pet without a purpose. Just like that. Let me see. We also went over capturing, which we call celebrating. Celebrating things that she does what you want. So when she looks at you, yes, and hold on a treat. When she lays down at your feet, she touches your hand, she drinks water, she sits at the door, she goes to her dog bed. Anything that's a desirable behavior, mark. sit. I don't think she has the verbal, so make sure you always do that sort of motion to get her to sit. And after a while, you want to check it, you would just, I'd say normally turn my head because dogs can read lips, but she can't read my lips. So you say sit, and she sits, then I know she has the verbal. But most dogs actually learn sit, and they don't actually have the verbal, they just have this part. I didn't say sit, she still did it. Most dogs will do a gesture first. So celebrate is the word that we use, means that you're missing an opportunity to reward the dog. So if I'm standing there and I'm watching, I'm looking out the beach, and somebody comes out and sees she came up and sat, they say celebrate, I would say yes and pet her. Sorry, sweetheart. So you just say the marker word and pet her as fast as you can. Remember, you only have 2 seconds to reward her for having to make that connection. So the more you reward her for these things, the more she's likely to do those. A couple other things that are a little bit different than my normal session. I had her playing an engaging game. I'm going to hopefully have a video for that above. Let's just throw in the treat. She looks at you, you click, and then throw another treat. She looks at you, click. So the treats are away. She doesn't have to come to you to get the treat. All she has to do is check in. And that's a great one you can do outside, like we do in the nice part of Santa Monica on the other side of Montana. That's a great, go stop in somebody's yard, throw a treat, but try to make sure the treats are a contrasty color so she can see them. Again, I like using string cheese that I slice down like medallions. Those are easy for the dog to see. Most dogs like cheese. Make sure you check to see, make sure she's not lactose intolerant first, because you don't want to deal with that. We also went over something like training for attention. So walking around your house with a clicker or your sit, yes, treat. Sit, take a couple steps, sit, yes, treat, walk around your house. Do this before walks. Now walks, right now the environment is too stimulus rich for her. She can't listen to her guardians. We're in an apartment, there's hallways. So I'd like you to start utilizing your environment. Do the clicks inside, sit, click, treat, walk, take a couple steps, sit, click, treat, walk all the way to the outside. I'll talk about the harness in a second. Then as soon as you step out, you're right inside the door, sit, click, treat. If she sits, then step outside the door and do it immediately outside your door. Then take 2 more steps. So I want you to start going outside of your apartment and walking the hallways. And you can maybe even take the stairs to the next level, do that hallway and go up and down. And basically, I want you to do 2 versions. The first version is you take no more than like 5 steps. Sometimes I step at 1, 3, 5 steps. And then I just let the dog go wherever it wants on the leash. I'm not asking for it. I'm not making any sounds, but as soon as it looks at me, I say yes and hold out the treat. The dog comes back to me. Actually, I've commanded you too. So for the first one, go outside, and when you're taking those walks, just go up to 5 steps, then plant your feet, wait for her to check in, hold out the treat, say yes when she looks at you, then hold out the treat, she comes over, you say it again. So we're walking down, she farts around, I take my 5 steps, I stop, she sniffs, she looks around. As soon as she looks at me, I say yes, then I hold out the treat, she comes over to me and she gets the treat, then I can take another up to 5 steps. So this is just practicing having her orientate towards you. The other one that you could do is asking her for a sit. So go as soon as you go out the door, sit, click, treat. Take 2, 3, 4 steps, stop, sit, treat. So she's like, Jesus, is this the thing where you just ask me to sit like 100 times? Yeah. We're practicing her hearing the auditory cue at the same time we're doing the motion. And then after a while, we can just say sit and see if it's starting to catch in. And eventually it gets to the point where we say sit and she sits, and then we'll give her that. But again, she's practicing disengaging from the environment and listening to you. Eventually, I'd like you to get to the point where you can walk up and down the hallway. And when you're taking her for a walk up down the hallway doing either one of these, then go down the stairs, take the stairs to the next level, walk. It might be the point, but by the time you get on the street, you've already walked up and down the hallways of your apartment building for 4 different levels. Yes, and you're going to get a whole lot of treats for it. And then by the time you get outside, you've depleted that top level of energy, and you've helped her practice getting the mood to listening to you. So you're going to find outside, you can absolutely do the same thing. As soon as you leave the building, take 5 steps, stop, plant your feet. As soon as she looks at you, yes, hold that treat toward her. But again, the key is to not put her in situations that are too much for her to deal with. This is probably too much for her to deal with for a while. So try to focus on really the working through the hallways in the building for the next week or 2. Maybe by the 3rd week, by the time we get into maybe mid-October, then you can try to take her for a walk at times of the day, like right now. What is it? It's like almost 1 o'clock on a Wednesday. Well, this is not a super duper busy time. You look at the beach, there's nobody there. This would be a great time to take her for a walk. 4:30 to 6 o'clock is a horrible time to take her for a walk. Everybody's gotten home from work and they're taking their dogs out. She's going to practice reacting. So that's the nice part about going that other part of Santa Monica, is there's probably not going to be very many skateboards there as well. So you're taking her environment where she gets to practice things at a lower level of stimulus and establish the behavior patterns and learn and practice all the things you want. Then we gradually work her towards more and more challenging and difficult situations and work her up to the regular real world situation. But never be afraid to just take a step back. Now, if she's grumbling like that, she's saying, I want some attention. Back to your mind. How long has it been since she had exercise? Longer than an hour, probably get her some more exercise. Let me see, what else do we go over? Rules. Not being in the kitchen when we're cooking is not an issue for her because she's scared of the kitchen, but once you fix that with the sound sensitivity video that we did above about counter conditioning, eventually she might come to the kitchen. So we would want to teach her to stay out of the kitchen. That's something we would work on in a follow-up session. But not being allowed to be within 7 feet of you when you're eating. Don't feed her any more people food because that's going to just cause her to want to do that. Use those Premax. Practice leashing her up. Leashing her gets her very excited. Any activity that gets her excited, I want you to start practicing that on a regular basis, but without the culmination of the final act. The final act for the walk, for the leash, is going for the walk. So just practice putting the harness on her, and then sit down and watch some TV. Wait for her to settle down. Then take the harness off, go into the living room. Practice doing it there. Do it in the guest room. Do it in the bedroom. So that she practices. Just because the leash goes on doesn't mean we're going for a walk. It just means that the leash goes on and I get a reward. I would probably say like, uniform, put the harness on, say yes, and then give her a treat. So make putting the uniform on the reward itself. So instead of getting bonkers crazy, can you put the harness on me, please? And then we can use that Premax. And we can use Premax for fetch. So asking her to sit each time after she drops the ball. And after you do the technique that I showed you, she'll start spitting the ball out for you right away. That's her first sit. Wait a half second. Don't wait too long, but have her practice a little self-restraint. There's an exercise that she get really excited for her food. Sometimes. So the snuffle mat, it will kind of help with that, but there's exercise sometimes that go crazy, and there's exercise we can do that. There's a whole lot of impulse control exercises we can work on, but I don't want to cover too much in this one session because we've already covered so much. I want you guys to really focus on this for the next about 3 or 4 weeks, and we'll set up a follow-up session a month, and we'll kind of build on your progress. But look for other opportunities for rules, like for Premax. Like she's allowed, I believe she's allowed on the couch. So if she wants to be on the couch, tell her to sit. If she sits, then invite her on the couch. Now, what if she jumps on the couch? You don't want to be on the couch. If you make a big deal out of it, it can be create the attention that you don't want. So if she jumps on the couch, you don't want her. What you could do is get up and step towards the TV. And when she gets down, tell her to sit. Reward her for sitting. Then go sit back down on the couch and then say couch and pat. So she's invited up on the couch, or better yet, tell her to sit. When she sits, then invite her on the couch. So she's sitting as a prelude to ask to get on the couch. She's asking you. You're teaching her those manners that we talked about, like we do for children's by doing a do-over. So if she makes a mistake or you make a mistake, stop, reset the exercise, and then practice it the way that you want to. Because I guarantee you, you will make mistakes. I make mistakes. We all make mistakes. That guy made a mistake. So the idea is when we make a mistake, stop, take note of what you did, back up a half step, create a situation where she can do it the way you want, and practice. So we eventually recognize that everything we do teaches our dog. So if we get in a habit of being mindful of those things, she learns through our regular day-to-day actions instead of feeling like we're working training our dog. It's just something we're doing on a regular basis. Do you have anything else you want to add? You want to come up here? Here. So you won't come up if you're invited, but I'd like you over here so that everyone can see how good-looking and girl you are. I have to get the right treats, huh? Is that what it is? It's like, yes, you don't have the right treats. Come on. Yes, we're almost there. Come here. Come on. Yes. Yes. Come on. Yes. Very good. Come here. Come here. It's like, no, I'm going to be all bashful. Well, this is my buddy Marley, and this is Marley's roadmap to success. Remember, everything you do trains your dog. Only sometimes you mean it.